In a world untouched by time, where the sun burned through the dust of endless plains and shadows of beasts ruled the land, survival was not a right. It was a battle. 4 million years ago, before words, before civilization, there were only instincts and fear. The air trembled with roars of predators, and the nights froze with silence, more deadly than any sound. Yet, in that silence, a flicker of defiance was born. From trembling hands and desperate hearts, humankind began its first great story. Not of conquest, but of survival. Every sunrise demanded courage. Every breath was earned. This is the story of the first humans, their hunt, their fire, their unity, and their fight against extinction. Food was life, and finding it was war. The tribe moved with the seasons, following the herds across dangerous ground. The women foraged for roots, fruits, and edible leaves, reading the land like scripture. The hunters, lean, silent, alert, watched the winds for movement, every sense stretched thin. When they stalked prey, they became part of the earth itself, faces streaked with mud, feet silent in the dust. A single springbok could feed them for days. But one mistake, a snapped twig, a wrong wind, and they would become the hunted. Each kill was sacred, bones cracked open for marrow, meat shared among all. Nothing was wasted, for they knew the balance. To take life was to owe it. Yet, the greatest threats were fur and fangs. Sabre-Tooth tigers, towering bears, and giant crocodiles ruled the primal lands. One encounter could end an entire lineage. At night, glowing eyes watched from the darkness beyond the fireless camp. The hominids' hearts pounded, spears clenched in shaking hands. They learned to read the earth, the faint paw prints in the mud, the smell of predator musk in the wind. They built watch circles, placing the youngest and oldest in the center. Fear bound them, but it also forged unity. The beasts taught them something profound. To live, they must become more than prey. As generations passed, survival grew smarter. Stones were shaped into blades, branches hardened into spears. Each discovery pushed them further from extinction. They learned to trap, to ambush, to work together, but the wild never slept. The balance remained fragile, but intelligence came at a cost. Every new idea was born from pain, from loss. They studied the hunt, how the predator moved, how the prey fled, and turned observation into strategy. Sharp stones became axes, sinew became rope, and teamwork became their greatest weapon. Soon, they were no longer wandering alone. They built gathering spots, simple clearings where they stored bones, hides, and tools. Communication grew through gestures, through shared looks that spoke louder than any sound. They hunted in formation, cornering prey with precision that mirrored the very beasts they once feared. Still, the wilderness never yielded. Each victory invited new dangers, storms, hunger, sickness, and beasts that watched from the shadows, waiting for the fire to fade. Survival was no longer instinct. It was art. And it demanded everything they had. Yet the greatest threats wore fur and fangs. Saber-toothed tigers, towering bears, and giant crocodiles ruled the primal lands. One encounter could end an entire lineage. The sun burned high over the endless savanna. Heat waves shimmered, and dust clung to the skin of the hunters crouched low in the tall grass. The air was thick, alive with tension. No wind, no sound, only the heartbeat of fear. Then, a low rumble, deep and primal. The saber-toothed tiger emerged, massive golden fur bristling beneath the harsh light, its head lowered, eyes locked on the tribe. Each step was a silent promise of death. The hunters gripped their spears tighter, knuckles white, feet planted in dry earth. It roared, an explosion of fury that echoed across the plains. Birds scattered into the sky. Then it charged. The ground quaked beneath its weight. Dust exploded upward as it thundered forward, claws tearing the soil. The first hunter threw his spear, missed. The second struck its shoulder, but barely pierced the hide. The tiger barely slowed, jaws wide, fangs like curved daggers, glinting in the sun. It slammed into one of the hunters, sending him sprawling. Screams and roars blended into chaos. The others surrounded it, shouting, trying to divide its focus. Spears jabbed from all sides. One struck its flank. Another sliced across its leg. The tiger turned violently, swiping with claws that whistled through the air. A spear shaft splintered in half. The hunters scattered, then regrouped, shouting in unison. They moved as one, a circle of courage around raw power. Every thrust was met with fury, every step forward answered by the tiger's lunge. The beast's roar shook the air, blood streaking its fur, eyes blazing with rage and pain. The tiger snarled, wounded, retreating into the dark. The tiger was gone. Its roar faded into the distance, swallowed by the wind. For a moment, a raw, trembling shout of victory. Another joined, then another. Soon the plains shook with the sound of human voices rising in triumph. They cheered, not with words, but with sound, born from relief and power. Spears lifted high, faces streaked with dust and blood. They roared to the sky. Laughter and shouts blended into a wild rhythm of survival. They had faced the unthinkable and lived. Some fell to their knees, pounding the earth. Others embraced, eyes wide with disbelief and pride. The air was alive with their joy, a fierce, primal celebration. They struck stones together, sparks leaping into the dark. Then, at last, a flame was born. It flickered, caught, and rose into a steady glow. They fed it carefully, watching the fire dance, its light painting their faces in gold and shadow. The warmth wrapped around them like safety itself. No one spoke, but their eyes met in silent understanding. The fire crackled, and in its glow, they saw the day's battle. The great tiger's retreat, their courage, their unity. The beast was gone for good.